Hi, Bob. I've been listening to a lot of different voices to see which one seems to make the most sense about this coronavirus lockdown and this global shutdown that we've been reporting on. Turns out, everybody's got a little different opinion, but they are all more or less correct. Let me explain. Since we all learned about Event 201, that was a pandemics drill exercise that was discussed in theory and Bill Gates was involved with this. Now, some people think that what we are experiencing now, and when we compare it with other flu epidemics and the severity of the lockdowns, that we're being punished and that it is an experiment. But I live in Madrid and I see it from a little bit different perspective because I know the hospitals are still full, and I know that at my age, probably getting a ventilator may not happen. No, because the hospitals are still under stress. We're still experiencing over 500 deaths a day, and they're claiming it is from this coronavirus. So it's kind of evil, and it's been affecting mostly seniors and those with pre-existing conditions, and in the Mediterranean maybe disproportionately because of other factors. I'm not a doctor, but I'm suspecting tobacco might have a role in it. Now, um, to think that this is an experiment, a social experiment, and we're the petri dish. Well, that isn't probably too far off because that's what Event 201 discussed. But more concerning is that President Obama had a relationship with the Wuhan laboratory, and through the NIH, National Institute of Health, granted them $3.7 million for coronavirus research, which coincidentally leaked out just in time to completely screw up an American election should it not be contained. And the Democrats are doing everything they can not to contain it. We see socialist countries not doing probably the best jobs. And we also understand it's the liberal attitude because you need to have those open borders and at the same time tell citizens they can't go outside. And countries like France, Spain, and Germany right now are discussing bringing in lots of migrants because we know that there's about 4 million Syrian migrants in Turkey waiting to come into Europe. And they would like to start helping many of these come in right now. That's under discussion. Under the smoke and mirrors of the coronavirus. Now, could the coronavirus be a smoke and mirrors tactic? And we are cannon fodder because in a global war, in a world war, we know there are casualties. And we heard every Democrat, especially Maxine Waters, say that there will be casualties. Other Democrats say casualties. And so they're already prepared for this. We know that Obama used drone strikes to destroy Libya, which is just on the other side of the Mediterranean from where I live. It's a country in North Africa. It used to be a country. It used to be a country in North Africa. Now it's kind of a mess. And it's really a shame because they have ancient Roman ruins. They had a college system. Women didn't have to wear burqas or anything under Gaddafi. It was pretty slick. And his bodyguards were all women. The guy was cool. I like Gaddafi in some ways. Yeah, so he was a ruthless dictator. But he was also a good businessman, and I believe that's kind of partly why he is no longer with us. And another story, but Obama did that. If Obama can blow a country off the map, a few senior citizens who may be infected by a coronavirus probably won't even faze him. Remember that George Soros sponsored Obama in 2008. Soros sponsored Clinton in 2016 and will sponsor her again in 2020 should she decide to run. Because here's another problem, we have Joe Biden who has dementia and someone's going to have to replace him. And using the coronavirus to keep Joe Biden away from Donald Trump. In other words, they can use the corona to keep him from public speaking where he's running for the Senate against Ronald Reagan, for example. You're not supposed to say those things. Those are really, really bad to say. It exposes the dementia. This might sound really wacky, but is there any possibility that they would wage a world war to get rid of populist leaders like Donald Trump, Viktor Orban of Hungary, the leader in Poland, of course, and Boris Johnson? They're all in the way of this mass migration idea that we've been discussing to replace a lot of these victims of the coronavirus. They started with the Steele dossier, the endless Trump-Russia collusion, which never stopped. It played 3 years now. It played so long, we became numb to it. I used to hear it in my sleep. Trump-Russia collusion. It was very funny. No, it wasn't. It can really get into your brain. Trump-Russia collusion. Then you find out it's all a lie that they've been telling you. So many other things were a lie. The Ukraine impeachment that they actually did, they tried to impeach him, but it failed. So when you get acquitted, they wrote the paperwork, but he wasn't impeached because he was acquitted, because the articles of impeachment did not contain a crime or an indictment. You kind of need to charge when you impeach someone. You need to make a charge, a legal premise. At any rate, we already discussed that. Don't have time for that one today. But we do have time for Joe Biden because he cannot move forward. No. Joe Biden, if he were, let's say this coronavirus thing were to calm down really quickly, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, let's say they could do some kind of a remote debate. They have to debate. I'm predicting that the Democrats are going to try to keep Joe Biden from debating Donald Trump. It's the only way. Could you imagine? Now, maybe they might be able to use an earpiece with Joe Biden and feed him answers, but his brain would still have to process them back out, and I don't think his brain could. It would be a catastrophe. Now, H.A. Goodman believes, and I've been believing ever since Never, Never, Never Say Never on the BBC interview here in London last November, when Hillary Clinton said that she wanted to run against Donald Trump. Don't count it out. Never, never, never say never. Because let's face it, Biden, unfortunately, now I wish he wasn't ill. I'd like to see him stand trial for his Ukraine crimes, flying his son around to China, all this profiteering he did as vice president. But I don't think he's mentally competent to stand trial. And I believe it's so crazy, but if you were to think of a way to get rid of some world leaders, to get your world leaders in power, would a few percent of the population really matter? No, it would just be a cannon fodder, and that's a terrible thought, just to think that they would do anything to get rid and try to damage Trump. Now, again, is this a crazy idea? Yeah, but the MSM is playing on it so hard, it's almost hard to think it's not. And with that, I'm going to run along. Please leave a comment.